The movie starts with John Wick back in action after he has been injured in the first movie. This time, his mission is simple but personal: get his Ford Mustang back from Abram Tarasov. The chase starts hot with John going after a motorcycle rider. After a slick move that sends the bike crashing, John picks up an invitation card that leads him straight to Abram's location. Here's the thing: Abram isn't just any random criminal, he's the brother of the late Vigo Tarasov. The moment Abram hears John is coming, he starts packing up shop. One overconfident henchman scoffs at the idea of running from a man just for a car, bragging he could take John down himself. Abram shuts him down fast, reminding everyone that this isn't just any car. This is John Wick's car, the same man who took out his nephew, his brother, and an army of henchmen, all because of that car and a puppy. Abram makes it clear that John Wick is the kind of man who can focus on a goal with scary precision. He's the guy who once killed three men with nothing but a pencil. Yes, a pencil. Do you know that? This story became such a big thing among fans that in John Wick Chapter 2, they actually made sure we finally got to see John in action with a pencil later in the film. Meanwhile, John has found where his Mustang is being kept and heads for Abram's hideout. But it's not a smooth ride. Abram's men give chase, smashing into his car. Another attacker piles on, leaving his Mustang even more battered. Still, John fires it up and escapes. One last biker pursues him, firing shots. John loses a car door to stop the guy but keeps going, now extra annoyed that people keep ramming his car. So he starts returning the favor, smashing right back into them. But out of nowhere, he's thrown from the car and forced into hand-to-hand combat. Of course, this is John Wick we're talking about, so his attackers don't last long. Finally, he reaches Abram's office. Abram looks terrified, and surprisingly, John spares him, but only if Abram swears never to cross paths with him again. Abram agrees. Mission complete, John heads home. John then takes all the keepsakes from his hitman past and buries them again, ready to live a quiet life mourning his late wife, Helen. But peace doesn't last. A few days later, Aurelio, his trusted mechanic, visits to check out the Mustang and warns it'll take a while to fix. That same evening, John gets an unexpected visitor: Santino D'Antonio, a dangerous player in the criminal underworld. Santino reminds John of a huge favor from years ago. He helped John pull off an impossible task that allowed him to retire and marry Helen. In return, John gave him a blood oath marker, a medallion with John's blood, symbolizing a debt that must be repaid. Santino has come to collect, but John refuses, saying he's retired for good. Santino doesn't take rejection well. Minutes later, he shows up with a grenade launcher and blows John's house to pieces. Against the odds, John and his dog survive. Standing among the smoking ruins, John has lost everything again. He takes refuge at the Continental Hotel in New York and meets with Winston, the manager. Winston reminds him, refusing a marker is a major breach of the underworld's rules. Santino's family is part of the High Table, a council of 12 powerful crime lords who control the Continental hotels worldwide. John has no choice but to honor the marker. Santino's job for him was to kill his own sister, Gianna, so Santino can take her seat at the High Table. Bound by the rules, John accepts. He heads to a storage unit to gear up, then flies to Rome. At the Continental Rome, he's greeted by the manager, Julius. When Julius jokingly asks if John is here to kill the Pope, John smirks and says no.
Sei qui per il Santo Padre? No.
Here's another fun fact for you guys. That Pope joke wasn't in the original script. It was added to break the tension before the big Rome sequence. John visits a tailor who specializes in making bulletproof suits for assassins, then stops by an armory where the shopkeeper knows exactly what John needs. Next, he meets a contact who hands him blueprints of Gianna's location. That night, John sneaks into Gianna's party, celebrating her seat at the high table. He confronts her in her dressing room and she decides to end her life on her own terms. John makes sure she's dead with a single shot, sealing his obligation to Santino. But Gianna's bodyguard, Cassian, spots him and instantly realizes John killed her. A shootout erupts through a massive concert crowd. John fights his way out, heading into the city's catacombs. There he runs into Ares, Santino's mute enforcer, and gets ambushed by Santino's men. Using the tunnels to his advantage, John isolates enemies and picks them off one by one. In about 45 seconds, he racks up a kill count of 12. Pure action. That is what we call movie efficiency. Escaping the catacombs, John gets hit by a car, and Cassian steps out. They fight viciously, crashing into the Continental lobby. Bound by the no-killing rule, they stop and even share a drink at the bar. Cassian promises he'll kill John later, quickly. Back in his room, John gets a call from Santino, who now puts a $7 million bounty on John's head, claiming it's revenge for Gianna's death. The bounty spreads fast and assassins all over the world take notice. John heads back to New York, but the city turns into a battlefield. Even Cassian comes after him again, leading to a brutal subway fight where John stabs him and leaves him for dead.
You will bleed and you will die.
This is the end of the line.
Wounded, John bribes a street beggar with a gold coin for help. The beggar leads him to the Bowery King, an underground crime boss. John asks for Santino's location and weapons, warning that if Santino gets a high table seat, the Bowery King's empire will crumble. Amused by the idea of John taking on a high table member, the Bowery King agrees and gives him a gun, with only 7 bullets, one for each million of the bounty. John storms Santino's art museum gala, taking down 7 guards with his 7 bullets. Out of ammo, he scavenges weapons from fallen enemies and fights his way into a mirrored maze. Ares and her crew attack, but John wipes them out, defeating Ares in a brutal hand-to-hand fight. Santino escapes to the Continental. Winston warns John not to kill on hotel grounds, but John's had enough. Without hesitation, he shoots Santino in the lounge, breaking the unbreakable rule. Now officially in trouble with the high table, John meets Winston the next day in a park. Winston tells him the bounty is doubled and now global. John is excommunicado, cut off from all underworld resources, but Winston gives him 1 hour before the contract becomes active.
Tell them. Tell them all. Whoever comes, whoever it is, I'll kill them.
As the countdown begins, people in the park stop and stare, assassins everywhere. John promises Winston he'll kill anyone who comes for him. Winston simply nods, and John takes off running with his dog, disappearing into the busy streets of New York as the movie ends. Director Chad Stahelski has said that the ending was meant to feel like a gunpowder fuse being lit, setting up John Wick Chapter 3 immediately. So stay tuned, the next part of John Wick's high-octane journey is coming up next. Get ready, because the action is only going to get more intense.